Okay, so we are Be'ezrat Hashem back to our Shalom Bayit class. We're going to do Lilu Shema for Ze'ev ben Adina. We just heard good words that this grandfather lived in the early 1900s. When did he pass away? 1978. So he lived in the early 1900s, and the grandchildren were saying how he fulfilled this book without even having this book in it. So there are people who fulfill it. I'm not going to say no, but in the generation that we live in right now, it's very hard to be able to understand this concept. Before we start today, I want to just read an excerpt from one of these pamphlets. We've been talking about commenting, correct? We said comments kill a woman. They destroy a woman's whole essence, right? And not only women's, by the way, but it looks like this could be a destroyer for kids and men as well. It depends how they are built. You know, the men as far as, but for kids, for sure, if you're going to comment negatively to kids, they're going to not accept these comments as a positive thing. But right now we are on the topic of women. So he says over here, the prerequisite for critique. Critique means you're criticizing somebody, but in a very gentle way. By the way, you know, a lot of people think that over here you're saying bad words. No. We're talking about critique. Critique is, you know, there are movie critics, there are restaurant critics, correct? We are professional wife critics. Yeah? And he says before we become a critique, we have to read this thing. He says, before this he mentioned a story about some Mr. Cohen who at home he would never take the blame on himself. He would blame everybody else, his wife, his kids, his partners, nobody, right? So he says, generally speaking, a person views the reality outside of himself according to his inner world that lies within him. Now, several different times, this is a very good read, by the way, on Shabbat, he talks about the human nature of a person. He says a person lives of what lives in his inner world. Meaning each one of us have what's called an inner world. It's the way we see the outside world from inside of us. And we think, like I think that you think that like me. You hear? And I think that he thinks like me, and he thinks like me. And therefore, when I speak to you, right, I'm thinking you're looking at the world from my point of view. Yes. So he's saying over here, generally speaking, a person views the reality outside of himself according to his inner world that lies within him. For example, if a person's inner world is full of joy and positive disposition, he will see external world as cheerful and welcoming, right? If I'm a positive guy, I'm looking at everything positively. Even something negative, I'm looking at it positively. He will also be capable of trusting others, relying on them, and so on. If I'm happy, if I'm, emotionally charged, I will also believe in you. I will let you do things for me, right? Because I'm that type of a person. If, however, a person's inner world is full of suspicion and anxiety, he will then perceive everyone around him as if they are out to get him and take something away from him. We have people like that. They don't trust anything. They don't trust anyone. Why? Because this is their inner world. Their inner world is a world that, of anxiety and not being able to trust people. In the internal thinking of Mr. Cohen, this particular individual, failure equals nullification of his very identity. Meaning, when he fails, it's against his nature. Therefore, he doesn't want to be the failure. If he fails, and I can blame it on him, right? Even though it's something that involves me, I'm good. Why? Because I'm blaming him. I'm blaming her. I'm blaming this one. You understand? As long as the blame is not on me. Why? Because if it is, I'll be destroyed. He says, would an ideal and exalted individual like me fail? In his mind is like, how could I fail? I'm a person that doesn't fail. There are people, by the way, their failure is very detrimental to them. Yeah? Consequently, in his mind, there was always one possibility. He was always right. It was others who were to blame. Correct? Meaning, since he's unable to accept failure, he has to make himself that he's always right, and therefore any wrong, it's you did it. Anything, that it's he did it. Yeah? Oh, but I told you to do it this way, and I told you to do it that way. Meaning, you'll have to read the initial story of how it was placed when he tells people to do something. He doesn't give him exactness. Why? Because if he gives him exactness, then they're going to say, but I did it exactly like you told me. And it still didn't come out, correct? So he gives it to them in such a way that there's a possibility for him to escape. But that's not what we worried about. at the end of the day, we're worried about the following. He says, the inner world, quote unquote, is what differentiates one person from another, each individual with their own inner mindset. So he says, what makes me different than you? My inner world and your inner world. That makes us different. Yeah? Each with their own bundle of issues that they must sort out and rectify in their lifetime. So you are built in a certain way, I am built in a certain way. Hashem built us this way, right? For us to be able to do our rectification in this world. For us to be able to live in the way that we live. How? Like you said, your grandfather is a certain way, right? His father was also a certain way. He made you guys also a certain way. Here, others didn't have this privilege. They never saw something like this. In their reality, they saw completely different. They saw bad-mouthing, they saw hitting, you understand? So they were brought up in a different way. So therefore, their inner world is a little bit different. So therefore, he says, recognizing this is crucial, and once we realize it, we will understand that no one on earth, regardless of who they are, has the right to express criticism or pass judgment on another person unless the critic, the person who wants to criticize, has achieved what is called hitpashtut hagashmiut, which means shedding one's material orientation. We have to ask the rabbi exactly what this hitpashtut hagashmiut means. I don't know if there is such a concept, but he's basically saying shedding one's material orientation, meaning I have to clean myself from the material world that I'm living in and get into his material world in order for me to be able to criticize him. He's explaining the concept of hitpashtut hagashmiut is broad and has countless levels, but for our purpose, we're going to refer to a specific point. What does it mean? It says, shedding one's material orientation means the capacity to step out of one's own inner world in order to enter another person's inner world. Meaning he wants to say that if I want to say something to him, I will have to understand what is in his inner world before I can even open my mouth. Why?
In his shoes.
Basically in his shoes. Because I don't know what's lurking with him. I don't know how he grew up, what he just faced, what he's thinking about. You understand? So therefore, I would have to come out of my shoes, like he says, and go into his shoes, like that, yeah? So long as I haven't gained that ability, so long as I haven't truly felt the other person's reality, how could I dare criticize him? How could I possibly understand who he really is? You understand? He says, moreover, it is likely that once a person succeeds in feeling the inner reality of someone else's inner world, he will be overwhelmed by the profound shame and embarrassment because it then becomes evident that the other person's inner world may be far more elevated than his. You see? If I do put myself in the other person's shoes, I can completely see the reality is different, thinking, wow, this person is on a different level, a higher level than me. Hence, our sages taught in Pirkei Avot, do not judge your fellow until you have reached his place. Regarding this, Rav Nachman of Breslov taught. He mentions Rav Nachman of Breslov also. He mentions Rav Nachman of Breslov in this book. He says the same thing. He says what? Know that whenever a person sits in judgment of his fellow, this is spiritually speaking an aspect of Rosh Hashanah. He says you're becoming Hashem now. You're going to judge this person? You becoming Hashem now. Like Rosh Hashanah is here, yeah? Which is the day of judgment. He is effectively sitting on judgment over his friend by criticizing and look, he says, one must be extremely careful and examine himself well to see whether he is truly worthy of judging his friend. For judgment is God's alone. Only he is truly fit to judge a person. You hear?
Given to us.
Exactly. How can we judge a person? Who are we?
Yeah.
As our holy sages taught, do not judge your friend until you have reached this place. And who can truly know or reach his fellow's place aside from Hashem? How could I know what is in your inner world? I cannot. Who can know? Only Hashem knows. Only Hashem knows what type of tests you have, how you are built, what sensitivities you have, what makes you who you are.
What was your start when you came here?
That's exactly because He created us. Therefore, He could judge us. But for us to be able to judge a person, yeah, He says, He truly entirely fills the place of the world, though the world does not contain Him and is not His place. Each and every individual has a place before God, and so only He, Hashem, can judge a person. And since God is full of mercy, He surely judges us favorably, fulfilling the dictum, judge every person favorably. Besides Hashem knowing who we are, where we come from, He's also a merciful God, and therefore He judges us mercifully. And we're not able to do that. Here, He says, a true leader is someone who can truly, compassionately enter the inner world of another person. This brings us to our point of being a man in the house. Yeah? What's a man? A man is the leader of the house. What's the owner of a business? He's the owner, he's the one who leads the business. What's the CEO? He's the one who leads the whole corporation. What's the president of the United States? He's the one who runs the whole United States. Even though we're sitting over here, right? We're still under the tutelage of at this point, Trump, correct? How is that? He sees what we're doing here. Since he's a leader and he has a certain way of leading the United States, so we're following his leadership. You understand? So he says, a true leader, he's compassionate, he can enter into the world of another person, uplift him, and illuminate his spiritual path. Here, he says a true leader is somebody that when he sees a downtrodden person, in our case, let's say it's a wife, right? As that's what he's talking about. He's able to, because he's a true leader, go into her inner world, or at least try, uplift her, right? And illuminate her spiritual path. It is for great leaders of such caliber that our sages institute a prayer 3 times a day, right? He goes on to say how we in Shemona Esrei say this certain prayer. But for our purposes, of the fact that we said that the most important thing is not to critique a wife, is because we don't know what's lurking in this woman. We don't understand what she's going through. We don't understand what pain she's going through after having so many kids and after being able to juggle everything during the day. And a lot of them are working now as well. Yeah, and then to come home and do all whatever they do. And we come as a Mr. Critique, and Mr. Critique and say, oh, by the way, why the dish is not done? Why the kids are so dirty? Why is this like this? Why is this like that? He says, who are you to tell? Who are you even to tell that? So a lot of people,
The one that says this, whatever you say, because his wife, right?
No.
Because then he's never home. You don't know what's going on.
Correct.
Usually, everybody's supposed to know what's going on.
Even if he is home,
even
when he sees whatever she's doing, you know what he's thinking? That's her job. That's what I'm supposed to do. What did I get married for? You understand? Again, I'm telling you what the people say. You acting like you never heard this. You also said that. And I also said that. Let's not act like, tzaddikim. You never said that? Yeah. Meaning, what? You never had the wife has to... Who said that the wife has to cook? For instance. No, but I'm saying, I know you're good. I'm also good. But at the end of the day, I expect when I come home to have dinner. Yeah? If there's no dinner, to call me, text me, sweetie, there's no dinner. Okay, I'll bring dinner. But at the end of the day, the point that we wanted to get from this Divrei Torah, yeah, so we do that, is that we are no one to critique anybody. Anybody means your wife and your kids as well. We cannot just take out our guns and start critiquing, People have an inner world that we don't know about. And therefore he says, if you cannot go into this inner world, you're not able to critique the person. Why? Because you don't know what's looming there. And he says, if you want to be a true leader, if you want to be a true man, if you want to be somebody who's going to, I'm a man, then you're going to have to know how to what? Enter the inner world of another person, uplift him, and illuminate his spiritual path. And that's what he's trying to teach you. You can do that. You know how? By illuminating yourself. Since she's the mirror, by you illuminating yourself, by you working on yourself, she'll be able to come out of this gloomy thing, this situation that she's in. Okay, so now back to our book. We finished the chapter of commenting, and right now we're on chapter 3, which means first place. And we said that what? He said that if you want to have marital bliss, you must put your wife, she should know, right? She should know that she's first place in your world. Yeah? Unfortunately, many of us say, what do you mean? I have one mother and father. So I have to, my obligation is to them. So I read an interesting thing in the other book. It says what? It says, how come it says that you must leave your father and mother and attach yourself to the wife. Yeah? How come? He says, what's up? He says, because the Bukharian way back in the days was actually not the right thing. Why? When we used to get married and live with the parents, who's the man in the house? The father. He says, the Torah says, get out of your father's domain, because you will never be able to be a man if you're in your father's house. Why? Because the father's the leader. And therefore you're now like this. You hear?
Uzbek style.
Uzbek style. So that actually was not the right thing to do. Thank God that's why it's here. Everybody's separate. Yeah? It says, get out of your house and cling to your wife. Because now you have to make your manlyhood with your wife. In what sense? To be able to give the sunshine that she needs. You hear? That's why it was a very interesting point. Okay, so we're over here. He says, the principle of first place encompasses one's entire life with a wife as following. The examples are going to show. He says, a quarreling young couple, meaning a young couple that was fighting, came to me to bridge their disagreements. The wife read a long list of complaints that she had about her husband, written on a piece of foil paper. He says, her first complaint was that whenever she needs her husband to do something at home, at a certain hour, to enable her to attend lectures, an exercise class or whatever, he's always late. Despite his promises to come home on time, he never does. So she told him, sweetie, I have a child, right? I need to go to whatever. I need to go to class. I need to go here and to go. Yeah, I'll be there. What happens? Sorry, but I got caught up with my job. My mother called me. I had to do this. The friend called me. He had a flat tire. You hear? He says, I asked the husband why he fails to come home on time. He answered me, Rebbe, believe me that I don't waste time. My overtime is for the benefit of my wife and kids. Would I come home late without a good reason? What can I do? Urgent situations arise that need my attention. So he says, listen, I'm not playing pool when she's telling me this. No, I got things to do. At the end of the day, when I work overtime, more money for the wife and kids. Yeah? He says, you're dead wrong, I answered him. Your wife should be your first priority. Even if your business is for her benefit, you can't be successful in the long run unless she is happy. Her needs come before anyone else's. Therefore, you have to put limit on your overtime. And if you're working extra hours because of your dads, you have to limit this too. The way to invoke divine assistance in escaping debt and financial difficulties is to make your wife happy. He says, happy wife, happy life.
Right.
And this way you will get more money. Yes, sir.
So, I have a question. I was actually talking to Chaim about this. How does it work if you have partners?
Yeah.
Like, overtime is something that's your choice.
Good.
Right? Like, if you have your own business, it's your choice.
Good.
But if you have partners, then, like, how do you...
How do you juggle that? So, first of all, you have to sit down with your partners, and partner or not, you have certain parameters. You can't work 24 hours a day.
Right.
You understand? So let's say your job is 9 to 5, 9 to 7, right? So you could tell your partners, listen, on certain days I could stay overtime. I don't know what kind of job it is, but on other times I won't be able to do it. Because at the end of the day, if you're a partner, you have a say in it. He also will be sometimes late or whatever. So you kind of have to juggle the time. Meaning, he's giving us an idea of how to work. But how long you married?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. When you're married for 20, 30 years, you're going to see that a lot of things you did, unfortunately, because you wanted to do it. And not purposely, but you didn't put her number one. You understand? By the way, this class, you have to be honest with yourself. Yeah, we talk only honesty, because only through honesty to yourself. You don't have to tell me, you don't have to tell Rabbi Chaim, but to yourself, you can understand that, you know what, I really didn't put my wife in the first place. I could have, but I really didn't. Yeah? So sometimes when we're able to go, we're like, so I'm sorry, I'm working. What are you doing? You're at work, but you're on your phone thinking, okay, what is it? Why? I don't want to right now take care of the kids. It's not for me right now. I can't take that. I have too much on my head, right on my shoulders, correct?
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
I think the partners need to know that your wife comes first. And then you enter into your partnership.
Well, listen, he entered already. He's in the situation right now.
My
It's,
wife comes first.
you're right. But at the end of the day, it's something that he has to express to his wife. Even he says, you don't have to go, telling your wife that you're my number one. You have to express it. Now, imagine he's in billions of dollars of business over there. He's gonna, excuse me, my wife comes first. It's a little bit,
Yes.
you're right, but there's another way to do it. There's another way. He should set parameters because at the end of the day, the owners or the partners should know that, listen, I have a life. You understand? And this is where we're mistaken, by the way. We sometimes think, no, my business is my life. And in fact, I was the owner of a pizzeria at one point for 9 years. That probably was the most damaging business to my marriage. Why? I used to work from 8 in the morning till 11, 12 at night. And I didn't listen to her at all. I was like, what do you want me to do? I got a business. What do you want me to do? Yeah. So I'm like, wow. Now I understand. I was destroying this woman completely. You hear? Why? Because, your business is more important? Now that I think about it, I could have closed at 9 o'clock. I could have closed at 8 o'clock. Why? I didn't have Emunah in Hashem. I thought, no, I got to stay until 11. For what? Because towards the latter part of my time, I used to close 9 o'clock. And if I would have closed 8, no problem. 7, not a problem. 6, not a problem. You know why? Hashem would make it that I have accounts, and all the money that I should have made, I would have made 12 to 6. But no. I wanted to satisfy the community. I wanted to. Who are you? On account of your wife and children, you want to be boss of their happiness. You understand? But this we understand later on. We have to have emunah and Hashem. Yeah.
We're talking about we have a askara of a grandmother.
Okay.
My grandmother, she was the remote boss. With
Yeah.
So she was practically in his business. I heard from many people she was managing this. It's like
Nice.
all clients would go through her.
Very good.
He is quietly waiting. She's like a filter. She takes. So maybe you just involve your wife a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe, but that passed.
Become a family business.
That was 10 years ago. So, number one, he says, your work, you have to make her number one. All your problems, I continued, are because your wife isn't your highest priority. Up until now, you've let everything else come before her. She must now assume first place in your life. Now, he's talking about a situation where we already are in this situation. We have caused the problem. He says you can reverse this. And by the way, you're looking at one. Here's another one. The doctor who thinks that I'm not here on Sunday, which I usually am not, but I'm here. He's another one. 42 years married. You understand? So many of these people that you see over here, they actually tried this method, and guess what? Works like a charm. You just have to do 1 + 1, and it's going to equal 2. Unfortunately, we want to get the number 2, but we're doing 1.5 plus 0.75 plus 0.35. You understand? We're giving a little bit of what we think we can do, and we're hoping to get this number 2, which is right, husband and wife, number 2, full number 2. But we're never going to get that. We're never going to get that unless we do 1, never comment. 2, make her number 1, and you become. Then she's going to do anything for you. She's going, sweetie, go, don't worry, I got it. She'll take care of the family. She'll do this. She'll be like, sweetie, I got it. No, what time you gonna come? What time you gonna? Yeah, but that's the next step. She'll be behind your back always. But when you don't do these steps, she will never be behind your back. You'll be like, but how do you want us to pay mortgage? I don't care. She's not gonna tell you. She does. I need this. Well, I don't understand. You want a new car? You want this? You want that? She don't give a damn. Why? I'm not getting the 1 + 1. And therefore we're not 2. You hear? I explained to the husband that his chronicle lateness is because everything is more important to him than his wife. If he really cared about her needs, he'd come home on time, especially when it means so much to her. And coming home on time so that she can attend her favorite evening Torah lectures is not enough. He must do it willingly with a smile. A lot of times we do. We come. Okay, you're leaving? Fine. Yeah, you're there. Now, for her, you didn't do anything. It's like you didn't come.
But
Like,
don't do it like
Rabbi, but I came. Yeah, but you gave an attitude. And the attitude that you gave to her, it's like you never came. He says, with the wife's list of complaints in hand, I told the husband that all of his wife's grievances rotate around the central issue that she's less than highest priority in his life. Here he speaks to her, but his eyes are glued to the newspaper. There he comes home, and his wife misses an important wedding. She asked him to pick her up, to pick up meat in order for the local butcher to pick up meat from the local butcher on the way home, and it slipped his mind. Her needs always seems to be ignored and forgotten. These things recur because she's not the first place in his life. So what he's trying to say, he says that every time she asks you to do something, you basically either forget, or you overlook it, or you this and you that. And what happens? She becomes this completely different woman that you're thinking now, oh my gosh, yo, my wife has a problem. She, miskana, she's a little bit on the sick side. She's bipolar. She has this depression. She has this. And what he's trying to tell all of us is that, do you know why she has that? It's because of this issue. And you know what we're saying? That, no, what kind of what are you talking about? Since when can a person become sick because you don't put her number one? He goes, a wife is like that. And unfortunately, men and men are already in the situation. And when you hear them, they're like, no, my wife came like that. I said, it cannot be she came like that. Because you married her, no? You knew her 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
If she already previous marriage, somebody married second marriage.
Yeah.
Come like
This is, let's say, no previous marriage. This is your first marriage. You understand?
We're talking about things that you have to mention.
I understand, but we're talking to
Previous
people.
experience.
We're talking to people who never been married. You understand? They married already 30 years, and she's no, my wife. Her head went.
I wish I'd be here like 3 years of marriage. I would be here on this.
Oh, we all wish. But
Not only you,
but
doctor.
guess, but guess,
Everywhere.
but guess what, doctor?
Especially
But guess
Moshe.
what, doctor? The beauty of it is, there is change
boss.
even toward the last minute. Meaning, you married 40, 50 years, and she's distraught. If you say, I'm very sorry, I made a mistake. It was my fault. I want to take all the responsibility on myself. I guarantee you're going to see a change. 4 weeks, it's like you're.
You gotta stay with it.
Yeah. This is not a 2-week thing. That's it. No. Lifetime change. Lifetime change, by the way. And believe me, it's gonna come easy to you. Once you see the woman that she's now also actually, she's actually wow. Oh my God, that's exactly it. This is what I want. This is what I meant. Why would you be pressing a button that's not opening the door when somebody's telling you, no, it's this button right here. I know what I'm talking about. And you're pressing this button and you're like, no, this is the button. It's like, dude, it's this button right here. This is the button that'll open up the treasure and then you go in. No. The nature of the person. He wants you to break the nature. What's the reason why we're in this world? To break our nature. Hashem sends us with a certain amount of jealousy, a certain amount of gava, a certain amount of stingency, a certain amount of desire, certain amount, all these things. He said, okay, you're going to get more, he's going to get less. He's going to get this, he's going to get that. Why? For each of our own development of what he needs us to be. You understand?
We're not equal here.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. You might not be a jealous person. I'm
And
tremendously
number one,
jealous.
doctor.
You might be a stingy guy. I'm an outgoing guy. He also doesn't want you to be an outgoing completely. That there's everything is in control. Yeah. So therefore, he says, the wife listened to my dialogue with her husband, and her eyes opened up wide in amazement. Rabbi, what a bullseye! I myself did not know how to put the finger on what was really bothering me. You just did it. You described my feelings to the T. I can't stand being second or third class in my eyes. And it's not only her, every single woman. She cannot stand being second or third class in her husband's eyes. She cannot. No such thing. In fact, he also mentions that the woman herself doesn't even know what's bothering her. See, that's the beauty, not the beauty, I don't want to say beauty, but that's the amazement of it, is that she's feeling distraught and she's not even know why. Why? Because you're, what?
It's in our favor that she doesn't know the real.
I mean, you could say that, but you know what? Maybe it would have been better that she would tell you, sweetie, can you please put me number one? And by the way, she does mimic these things, not outright, yeah? But he's saying, the Kunz is that she doesn't even know what's bothering her. When you're commenting about, when you're being a critique about this, that, it all builds up. She's like, I hate my husband. Why does he make me feel so bad? Yeah, my husband is abusive. I never touched her. I never cursed at her. Yeah, you're like, I never used the curse word. You hear? How could I be abusive? There's a lot of people like, I don't, Rabbi, she said I'm abusive. Does she even know what abusive means? You hear? And unfortunately, rabbis who don't know this topic like this, they also say, what do you mean he's abusive? He hits you? No, he doesn't hit me. He screams at you? No, he doesn't scream at me. So what abusive? I don't get it. Where's abusive? And now he's thinking, yeah, she's out of it. You hear? Why? Because of the fact that she's calling him abusive. Meanwhile, he doesn't understand that every time he says, "Listen, why is this thing like that? Why?" And then he takes videos of it. Yeah, he takes videos of all the misfalities and he starts, "Come here, come here. Look at this. What is this?" You hear? And she looks at it. She doesn't want to look at it. Why? Because you're telling her she's not good. You hear? And when she hears that, she's distraught because she wants to be the best woman that she could be for you. She wants to do everything for you. In fact, he also says, the woman wants to do everything for you. I know it's hard for us to believe. Why? Because we're in situations where she's anti, right? Because we got it to that point. But if you just break yourself and give 30 days, 40-day challenge, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, she wants to cook for me. She wants to clean for me. She wants to do this for me. She's allowing me to do this. She's allowing me to go here. She would never allow me to do that. You know why? Because you were too me against her. Here. Now when you want, she's Says, I asked the wife if anything else was bothering her. She answered me, nothing. If my husband is capable of understanding what you summed up in one sentence, Rabbi, then my whole list of complaints, needless. Musa, take this, garbage. Why? I don't care about any of that. I don't need a house. I don't need $2,000 slippers. Why is she saying $2,000 slippers? You know why? Because if she says $20 slippers, that's whatever. I want Chanel slippers. My friend has 2,000. Exactly. Am I worth the 2,000? And he's thinking, are you out of your mind? $2,000 slipper? Are you crazy? Why would I buy you slippers for a piece of plastic for $2,000 because it says Chanel? Are you normal? You understand? I want a Louis bag, $5,000-$6,000. He's like, go get it in Chinatown for $80, $20. I'll get no. I want it. Why? Because there's no infusion of number one. So she's thinking what? She's thinking, if he buys me this, I'm number one. And you know what? Some guys do buy that.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're still not happy. Why? Because they're like, nope. Now that this worked, okay, next thing. Next thing. Huh?
Diesel in the,
Absolutely. He titles this Woman's Oxygen. Says, to understand the underlying rationale behind the principle of making your wife first place, we must realize that Hashem created a woman in such a way that a woman's vitality comes from her sense of dignity. King David alluded to this in Psalm 45 when he said, the entire dignity of a princess is eternal. Yeah? In other words, a woman's soul thrives on dignity. A slight of her honor and prestige or failing to respect her is like robbing her lungs of oxygen. So he says, Hashem built a woman like that. Understand this. Hashem built a woman to have a certain amount of dignity. She has to feel honored. By who? By her husband. You hear? And therefore, if you don't do that, you basically took her lungs out and she's no longer be able to breathe. You hear? He says, don't think that living with a woman is like living with a friend or a business partner. Between men, the tactic of agreement is different. If I'm okay with you, then you're okay with me. Works fine with men. The rules of living with a woman are different. One must know what makes her tick, how she thinks, what she likes, and what she despises. More than anything, one must understand that honor and respect are basic needs for her soul. Without them, she withers. She derives her honor first and foremost from the feeling that she's the most important thing in her husband's life and loved more than anyone else. As long as a husband fails to give his wife that feeling, they'll never be happy. In fact, when Chava was cursed, this was the curse. That you're going to always want that husband, that feeling from the husband of, So therefore, in this chapter, we'll illustrate what it means to make your wife happy. Even if the husband puts on a good act and fulfills all the recommendations, as long as he doesn't internalize the feeling of his wife that she's first place in his life, and radiate that message to her, she won't be truly happy. So he says, even if you stop the comments, no more comments. And you say, oh, my love, this and that. You do all those first chapter requirements. He says, if you do not put her as number one, also you're going to kill it.
Inside, internally.
Also internally, because at the yeah.
You have to mean it.
Absolutely. The Yetzer Hara, or evil inclination, is constantly trying to destroy a person's marital bliss. Even if a man learns how to be a good husband, right? The Yetzer Hara will try to trip him up all the time. One would therefore be well advised to pray to Hashem for help in implementing each of the teachings in this book. The Yetzer Hara hates peace. He wants janganozi. He wants there to be always strife. Why? That's how he gets paid. This is his job. Here, the money is it, destroy everything. So he says, don't think that 2-3 months you're good, all of a sudden you think, oh, okay, I'm on cruise control. No, you gotta understand, sometimes she's gonna come into your face. A lot of times she will come into your face because of what he's trying to point out. He says, watch the eyes, yeah? Sometimes we'll do everything nicely. She's number one, and we're not commenting, and everything is good. But when it comes to summertime, and the outside world is not so covered up, yeah? They're wearing their lingerie outside in the public, the eyes wander. Now, if you accidentally see, it's okay. But sometimes we want to analyze, what kind of brand of lingerie is that? Let me see. Is that normal of her to wear like this or not? And we become chacham balayla, which, no, Hashem, I'm not looking. I'm just trying to understand, what kind of stupidity is she, dressed like that?
Is she really dressed like
yeah,
that?
is she really less? What kind of? So, and then you kind of come home and you said everything nice. All of a sudden you're feeling resistance from the wife. You're thinking, I don't get it. I'm doing number 1 and number 2. She's first in my place. Yeah, but you forgot to do the number 3 out there. That over there. And she has to give you a little hint. So always remember this one fact before you go, that whatever you're getting because you deserve it. If you're really honest with yourself and you backtrack, what happened today? What did I get? You're going to see that you flipped up somewhere, and therefore she's giving you takoi misha barach, and you got to understand, srazu, chatati, aviti pashati. Hashem, I'm sorry, it's my fault. Hashem wants you to hear that it's your fault. Why? Because at the end of it, it's your fault. Yeah, I shouldn't have been wondering where it wandered. You hear? And therefore you put yourself back into the position of doing what you have to do, watching your eyes, treating her number 1, and never being a critique. Mr. Critique is outside of the house, never inside. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen. Amen.